Ava was on the living room floor, wrapping the last of the Christmas gifts she'd spent weeks ordering. Matching pajamas for the kids, a leather travel journal for her dad, a curated tea sampler for her mom. The cabin rental confirmation sat open on her laptop, glowing like a promise she was finally close to fulfilling. It was supposed to be perfect this year. Finally soft, finally peaceful. Her phone lit up with a notification from the family group chat. She didn't think much of it at first. Probably another last-minute request, another reminder that Amazon cutoff was 3 days ago. She wiped tape residue off her fingers, reached for the phone and opened the thread. The message stared back at her, blunt and unapologetic. If you're not going to babysit 4 kids, then don't even come. A beat later, without hesitation, her mother responded with a thumbs up. Her father chimed in. Fair enough. That was it. No pause, no defense, no curiosity about her life, her work, her exhaustion. Just automatic agreement that her value would be measured in unpaid labor. Something split in her chest. Not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet internal snap, like a thread pulled too tight finally giving out. She reread the message, hoping she misunderstood it. Hoping someone would walk it back. Hoping someone would say, "That was harsh." But no one did. The chat went silent, as if they'd just established the rules and moved on. Ava felt heat rising beneath her skin. Anger, humiliation, disbelief. She'd always known she was dependable. She didn't realize the extent to which she was disposable. She sat back, gifts scattered around her, the smell of pine wrapping paper filling the room. This was supposed to be the first Christmas she wasn't scrambling, wasn't running errands, wasn't baking for 30 people. A Christmas where she could just exist, not perform. Her family had other plans. Ava lived in Denver, worked in software, and was the one her parents always called when something needed fixing. Printer broken. Ava. Money short. Ava. Someone needed watching, driving, organizing, planning. Ava. Being capable had become a curse. Capability made her invisible. But this changed something. She stared at the group chat and realized her family didn't see her as a daughter coming home for Christmas. They saw her as labor arriving for duty. And the worst part, they didn't even pretend otherwise. Her hands shook. Not with rage, but with clarity. She didn't want to argue, convince, or beg them to treat her like family. She didn't want to defend her existence anymore. She wanted out. And not just out of the cabin rental, but out of the dynamic entirely. Her heart hammered as she drafted a response. Short, final, terrifying. She hovered over the send button, sensing the moment would split her life into before and after. But the part no one saw coming was what I did next. She hit send. And before I tell you the rest, comment where you're listening from, because this story is just getting started. Long before the text message that shattered her plans, there was a family story already written, and Ava had never been the protagonist in it. That role had always belonged to her older sister, Heather. Heather was the kind of child parents built their world around. Brilliant, theatrical, endlessly praised. When she entered a room, conversations shifted, plans bent, and adults reorganized themselves like planets adjusting to a larger mass. Ava didn't resent her sister for existing at the center. But she noticed how effortlessly everyone made space for her and their house. There was an unspoken rule. Heather's needs were emergencies. Ava's needs were responsibilities. When Heather forgot her lunch, their mother would drive across town to drop it off, even if she was late for work. But if Ava forgot hers, her mom would shake her head, hand her a few dollars and say something like, "You really need to get more organized." When Heather was overwhelmed with school, she got tutors, extensions, comforting talks about stress. When Ava was overwhelmed, she got a clipboard and a schedule because she could handle it. The messaging was consistent, almost rehearsed. Heather deserved support. Ava was support. And for years, Ava absorbed it without protest. She wasn't dramatic, didn't break down, didn't need rescuing. She was capable, efficient, quiet. Traits her parents translated into emotional invulnerability. If Heather forgot something, Mom would step in. If I forgot something, Mom would sigh. It wasn't cruelty. It was certainty. Her family simply believed she would figure it out on her own. Then Heather had kids. 4 of them rapid fire, each arrival treated like a miracle the whole family needed to adjust to. Ava loved the kids, truly. She showed up for birthday parties, recitals, random sick days. She cut fruit into tiny shapes, learned the difference between Bluey and Paw Patrol, let small bodies nap on her chest while she answered work emails with one hand, tea first. Helping felt voluntary, a way to be useful. But somewhere along the line, it stopped being a request and became a tradition. If Heather needed childcare, the assumption fell on Ava. Not because she lived close or because she was available, but because she was Ava, the one everyone counted on without ever asking if she wanted to be counted on. And what built inside her wasn't anger, exactly. It was a slow, dense accumulation of obligation, like being handed bricks one by one, until she couldn't remember a time she wasn't carrying something heavy. Ava didn't fight it. Her family never yelled, never demanded. They simply looked at her with quiet expectation, a kind of familial confidence that she would hold everything together. Holidays, childcare, logistics, emotions, while Heather continued to orbit life without consequence. That's why, when the Christmas plan came together, it meant more than just a holiday. It meant rest. Belonging. Freedom from the identity she'd been assigned since childhood. It meant stepping into a version of family where she didn't have to perform to be welcome. And maybe that's why the Christmas trip mattered to me more than I admitted. Ava started planning Christmas in August, quietly building an experience she hoped might change something in her family. If not permanently, then at least for one beautiful week. She spent evenings comparing flight prices, texting availability, coordinating time off, hunting for somewhere that didn't feel like just another rental but a place that invited peace. She found it. A lakeside cabin tucked into a cluster of evergreens, with a wide deck overlooking a sheet of frozen water that would glitter under moonlight. The photos showed a massive stone fireplace, worn leather couches, beds layered with wool blankets, and windows tall enough to make you forget walls existed. A place built for warmth. A place where people could exhale. She imagined mornings with coffee, the smell of firewood burning, 4 kids in matching pajamas tumbling down the stairs while her parents, just for once, sat and watched instead of delegating. She dreamed of evenings spent playing games instead of refereeing fights, of family dinners where no one rushed out the door, of laughter that didn't come at her expense. Her vision wasn't extravagant. It was simple. A family Christmas that didn't revolve around what she provided. A week where she could join instead of manage. A reminder that she was part of something, not just responsible for something. She could already picture the cabin glowing at night, its porch wrapped in string lights, reflections on the lake looking like a second world beneath the ice. She could see her dad in a wool sweater, her mom leaning back with a glass of wine, all of them dressed in the kind of coordinated sleepwear people in commercials wear. The type of joy that looked easy, even if it wasn't. That a week before Christmas, she drove to Heather's house to drop off gifts and go over logistics. She arrived to chaos. Kids screaming, toys everywhere, streaming notifications pinging from a TV nobody was watching. Heather shouted a greeting from another room, not turning away from the screen. The kids hugged her, but it was quick, distracted. Her mom arrived 10 minutes later, walked right past Ava's shopping bags, and started folding laundry without a word about the trip. Oh, thank you. No, this must have been so much work. No, you're doing something incredible for us. Just a room that already tilted in their favor. A room where the assumption was that Ava would handle everything. The planning, the childcare, the emotional temperature, the invisible glue. She didn't see it at the time, but the signs were there. Small, sharp reminders that her fantasy was not their reality, and her hope wasn't shared. She thought the trip would shift the dynamic. She thought the setting would soften them. She thought the right environment could make them see her. But I didn't understand what was coming until the night the group chat lit up and everything I'd planned unraveled in a single sentence. It happened on a Tuesday night in Denver, the kind of night that didn't feel like anything monumental could occur. Snow flurries tapping the window, a pot of soup simmering on the stove, the world outside softened and quiet. Ava was curled on the couch, laptop open, skimming a flight confirmation email for what felt like the 50th time. Just making sure everything was still in place for the Christmas trip she'd orchestrated. Her phone buzzed. Family group chat. She expected a random question about packing lists or snacks for the drive. What she got instead was a blunt, graceless sentence that rooted her to the spot. If you're not going to babysit 4 kids, then don't even come. She blinked, convinced she read it wrong. Her heart gave one hard beat, then stalled in confusion. Before she could type a response, her mom chimed in. "You're the only one who's free." Then her dad, efficient and final. "Christmas is about helping family." Ava stared at the screen as the soup simmered forgotten. Not one of them asked if she could. Not one of them asked if she wanted to. Just the assumption, old, practiced, heavy, that her availability, her energy, her time belonged to them. It struck her how familiar it all felt. How many birthdays she'd cooked for. How many weekends she'd spent running errands. How many holidays she'd structured around other people's needs. She typed, fingers stiff but steady. "Just so I'm clear, if I don't babysit, I'm not allowed to come to Christmas?" 3 dots appeared. Vanished. Reappeared, then Heather, with all the casual cruelty of someone certain she held home court advantage, replied. "Correct. We don't need someone who just eats and leaves." The words punched harder than anything Ava had prepared for. Not because they were dramatic, but because of how easily they were said. How deeply the sentiment must have existed long before it was typed. Her whole body reacted before her mind caught up. Her hands went cold. Her stomach dropped. Something inside her didn't explode. Shut off, not rage. Not panic. A quiet, final disengagement. She set the phone face down on the couch, stood up, walked to the kitchen, and turned the stove off. Her heart was pounding, but not frantically. More like it was clearing space for something new. She leaned against the counter, breathing slowly, staring at nothing. 10 minutes passed. The group chat stayed silent. No follow-up. No softening. No one worried about how she might feel because they weren't thinking about her at all. For the first time, Ava saw the pattern clearly, without the fog of hope or denial. They didn't invite her to Christmas to celebrate her or with her. They summoned her to work to absorb the chaos, to manage the children, to give her time, body, and patience without question. And the moment she threatened to deviate from that role, they revoked the invitation. Without hesitation. She thought of the cabin, the frozen lake, the fireplace, the matching pajamas, all the things she'd curated so carefully. Not as an event she hosted for them, but as a moment she wanted to be part of. And in one sentence, they revealed that they didn't want her there unless she earned it. Unless she justified her seat. Unless she was useful. A new thought rose in her. Not emotional, not dramatic, but sharp and clean. She'd spent a lifetime proving her value to people who never questioned her utility, only her worth. She picked up the phone again. When I picked it back up, I didn't argue. I made a decision. If this resonates with you, subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Because what she typed next didn't repair the family dynamic. It detonated it. Ava sat back in her chair, the glow of her laptop illuminating her face, and let herself review everything she had meticulously booked for the Christmas trip. It wasn't just money. It was months of effort, sleepless nights, careful scheduling, and the quiet hope that maybe this year it would be different. Flights, cabin rental, snow activities, rental cars, meals, everything totaled nearly $50,000, and yet, as she stared at the sum, a cold clarity settled over her. She had spent all this trying to earn a place in a family that had already told her she didn't belong unless she worked for it. Stop trying to earn a place you already paid for, she thought. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Her mind was calm, almost clinical. There would be no pleading. No negotiations. No last-minute compromises. She drafted a single sentence, the kind that would make them feel the full weight of their assumptions. Cool. Then my $50,000 isn't showing up to Christmas either. Send. The silence was instantaneous. No Heather. No Mom. No Dad. She leaned back, the first true relief she had felt in years washing over her. Not because of money. Not because of spite. Because for the first time, she wasn't bending to anyone else's expectations. Then she began systematically dismantling the trip. Flight by flight, reservation by reservation, activity by activity. Each confirmation came in reversed. The Denver to Minneapolis flight. Cancelled. The cabin rental refunded. Ice skating and sleigh rides. Car rentals. Every carefully crafted detail of what she had hoped would be a warm, inclusive family holiday erased in moments. Heather's response came first, practically vibrating through the group chat. "What do you mean you're $50,000? Ava, calm as a winter lake, began sending screenshots one by one. Every confirmation, every invoice, every charge. No explanation. No emotional commentary. Just proof. Her mom piped up defensively. "You didn't pay for everyone's tickets." Ava scrolled and dropped the next screenshot, showing the $34,000 cabin cancellation, followed by the rest. Silence returned, heavy and uncomfortable. Then her dad, always the voice of reason until now, tried to anchor them. "Why would you do that? We were all counting on this trip." Ava typed simply, "I cancelled." Heather, flustered and sharp, sent a flurry of messages. "You ruined their Christmas." Ava's reply was crisp, icy, perfect. "You told me I wasn't welcome unless I babysat. I simply removed what wasn't welcome." The effect was instantaneous. Panic threaded through the family group chat. Mom tried to call. Ava didn't answer. Heather messaged non-stop, bargaining, pleading, attempting guilt. Ava didn't flinch. She didn't engage. It wasn't about revenge. It was about boundaries. Every frantic message from them was a reminder of how they had treated her for years. And for once, she didn't back down. The family scrambled, suddenly realizing the enormity of what had just happened. Flights were gone. The cabin was gone. Christmas activities, they had nothing. All the carefully planned traditions, all the assumptions about her generosity, evaporated with a click of her finger. And Ava? She sat quietly, the storm around her contrasting sharply with the stillness inside her. She wasn't angry. She wasn't happy. She was free. Have you ever had to set a boundary this hard? Let me know in the comments. It was the ultimate Christmas lesson. Sometimes giving up isn't losing, it's claiming your own worth. The morning after Ava dropped the $50,000 bomb, the group chat lit up again, but this time with familiar tones she had heard 1,000 times before. Her mom was first, trying the classic guilt tactic. "You're being petty. You're single. You have time. Don't make this about yourself." Ava stared at the words, recognition washing over her. She'd heard variations of this her whole life. On birthdays, weekends, holidays, family events. The unspoken assumption was always the same. Her life existed to serve theirs. She typed calmly. "I'm not the family's free childcare. I'm your daughter." The chat went quiet for a moment, but her father soon jumped in, gaslighting in his familiar measured tone. "Stop being dramatic. It's Christmas. Just relax." Ava didn't flinch. She didn't flail or apologize. She replied with precision, the words carrying the weight of years spent managing everyone else's expectations. "Fix it yourselves." And that was it. 4 hours the family scrambled. Heather called everyone she could think of, trying to rebook flights, hunt for another cabin, piece together a holiday at the last minute. But prices had doubled. Availability was gone. The carefully constructed fantasy Ava had built for them all was now completely unspooling, and they had no one to blame but themselves. Heather finally admitted the truth in a burst of panic. "Everything's gone. Prices have doubled. There's literally nothing left." Her mom tried a different tactic, accusation. "This is why we don't tell you things. You're too emotional. You overreact." Ava's reply was quiet but lethal. "I thought about it for years. No begging. No drama. Just clarity." And then Heather sent the final quiet message, the question that carried both fear and disbelief. "You're spending Christmas alone?" Ava smiled faintly, almost to herself, and typed her truth. "I'm spending Christmas with people who see me as a person, not a resource." The chat fell silent. The typing bubbles disappeared. No one replied. There were no calls. No last-ditch emotional appeals. Just quiet. Ava leaned back, letting her phone slip from her hands. She unpacked her suitcase, carefully placing the clothes and gifts in neat piles. She blocked notifications for the next 24 hours, giving herself the space she had never had. Space to breathe, space to feel, space to exist without obligation. For the first time in years, Christmas wasn't a performance. It wasn't about who she had to serve or placate. It was hers. The sunlight streamed through the window, glinting off the half-frozen lake outside. The quiet cabin smelled faintly of pine and promise. And for the first time in a long time, Christmas felt like mine. Christmas morning arrived quietly at Ava's friend's cabin. The sunlight filtered gently through frost-covered windows, warming the small living room where laughter and the smell of cinnamon rolls mingled. There were no schedules, no expectations, no silent judgment for forgotten tasks. Just simple, deliberate joy. Ava unwrapped a small gift from a friend, carefully wrapped, a note tucked inside that read, "For the life you get to choose." It felt like a declaration, a permission slip she had never allowed herself before. Board games followed, hot cocoa in hand, laughter spilling into corners of the room that had never known this kind of lightness for her. Meanwhile, her family scrambled in the snow elsewhere. Triple-priced flights, overbooked cabins, disappointed kids, arguments ricocheting in group chats. Some relatives quietly admitted that blaming Ava for her choice was unfair. Others muttered that the boundary had been long overdue. Ava didn't gloat. She didn't relish the chaos. She simply felt peace. A month later, a short text appeared from Heather. "Sorry for everything. I hope you're okay." Ava read it, then set the phone aside without replying. No triumph, no satisfaction. Just calm acknowledgement. Some doors don't need slamming. They just stay closed once you step through. If any part of my story feels familiar, tell me where you're listening from, and share what you would have done. Ava leaned back, sipping her cocoa, feeling a warmth that wasn't from the fire. Christmas had finally belonged to her. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next story. Because sometimes taking a stand changes everything, and everyone deserves to see themselves in the victory.